Alright, so this is gonna be the first of my commentary style, like discussion type videos, um, with just the classics. So there's just like gameplay in the background, and I think for this one I'm just gonna use some Siege gameplay I had from the new season, High Caliber. Shameless plug. So yeah, this discussion that I wanted to have was more just about the state of PlayStation gaming and the Game of the Year contenders, that sort of thing. So again, I may have mentioned it before in one of my previous streams, but I'm not sure if my mic was working. My Game of the Year would be Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And although, there are a lot of strong entries coming in, like Deathloop, It Takes Two, Resident Evil Village, who else got nominated? I think Metroid got nominated. Let me actually look at the official list here. Yep, so at the Game Awards, the final list ended up being Deathloop by Arcane Studios slash Bethesda. It Takes Two by Hazelight Studios, published by EA. Metroid Dread, that was Mercury Steam slash Nintendo. And then there was Psychonauts 2, which was Xbox Game Studios entry. Then Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, obviously Insomniac Games, Sony Interactive, and then Resident Evil Village, Capcom. So again, this year felt like I think Ratchet and Clank was the first real entry that made use of the PS5 hardware. I would safe to say, outside of Returnal, I guess, because Returnal also launched earlier in the year, and that was the first real, as a PlayStation 5 owner, that's where you really felt that it was actually maximizing the hardware in the console, and it wasn't just like an enhanced PS4 game running at 60 FPS and feeling a bit better, that kind of thing. So, let's see. So, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, for me, one of the best games on PS5 easily. And so hopefully again it isn't forgotten by the other award shows as well, because again it did launch a bit early in the year back in June. And overall, despite the ongoing COVID pandemic, gaming has sort of provided like a solace for us, like an escape from the real world for, a few moments to live out lives and fantasies online, link with friends, just have like some chill time outside of like watching Netflix and that kind of thing, just to kick back. And again, video games only seem to get bigger and better with each year. And even though there wasn't like a massive change between PS4 to PS5, it wasn't like as drastic as we saw, for example, between the PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, that sort of jump, or PS2 to PS4, with 3 being like the middleman in the ground.
10 seconds to
Um,
insertion.
yeah, the technology just keeps getting more complex and improving.
5 seconds.
So again, serving as one of
Make your way to its
PlayStation
location and defuse it.
5's premier
The diffuser
exclusive,
is no longer in your possession.
Ratchet and Clank was stunning. I would say packed with action, the usual humor for all ages, whether you're, like a young teenager, a young kid, or a bit on the older side, like 23, 24 plus. Um,
You must
and
recover
again,
the
it was
diffuser.
simultaneously a sequel to 2013's Ratchet and Clank and the 2016 reboot, which is basically a remake of the original Ratchet and Clank. So it is essentially the first new Ratchet and Clank in 5 years, I guess, since 2016.
The diffuser has been recovered.
Okay, and I guess a healthy assortment of games released in 2021, whether it was puzzle, action, shooter games. There was just like a lot of good releases. I wouldn't say like too solid. Like no one was, again, like I was saying, no one was really a standout besides maybe Resident Evil and Ratchet and Clank. Though, and It Takes Two, again, that was the other big standout, and that was sort of like a throwback where they merged a lot of old gaming concepts into just like one mashup
Drop the
where you
diffuser.
could just enjoy as like a
Friendly last
multiplayer
operator
without it
standing.
being the usual first person shooter nonsense that we just keep getting fed that over and over and over again.
All friendlies have been eliminated.
So naturally, again, only a few would stand out. Like I was saying, Deathloop was another one that impressed many. It had damn near perfect reviews across all platforms. Metroid Dread, again, was a strong return from Nintendo. Uh, and then again, with Ratchet and Clank, was also well received. But again, June is a long time ago. And today's world is a bit fast paced, and there tends to be like a recency bias. So it may have faded in memory, I guess, but with all like the nominations and everything, I guess it didn't. And we won't see it get like slightly overlooked. That type of thing may not happen. And then other titles that came out later on, whether your Far Cry 6, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and yeah, just like we tend to see sometimes the games that launch in this period between like September, October, November, December
You need to
tend to
locate a
get a bit
bomb.
of favoring over the games that launch early in the game. And then what else did I want to mention? Oh, the contenders. So speaking about some of the contenders, Returnal again, another one of the games that I enjoyed this year. The entry, which was a roguelike entry from House Marquee, and I think it was their first AAA game. I'm not too sure on that. I'd have to check my facts on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the first AAA game they did, and it was amazing how it actually turned out.
10
It
seconds
was
to
boasting
insertion.
incredible load times, the visuals were insane, the gameplay
5
was
seconds
always
to go.
intense and kept you on your toes, and it was one of those games
A
that's
bomb must
challenging,
be
a bit
located and
brutal and
defused.
challenging, but you always just want to be on your toes in gaming, and you don't want things to be spoon-fed and easy for you. But you also don't want things to go to like the extreme of like the Souls, the Souls franchise. Because I'm someone who I play some of the Souls franchises, but I'm actually yet to ever finish a Soulsborne game purely because I just can't seem to put myself through all of that
You
shit
have located a
over
bomb.
and over again if I'm not like interested in the lore. Whereas, like games like a God of War, that type of thing, I'll put up with the hardest difficulty and challenge myself because I'm interested in the lore and, to see what would happen, that type of shit. So I sort of have a reason to to grind through it. Whereas, like in Souls games, I enjoy them, but I don't really have a reason to grind through them. And then going back to It Takes Two, uh, that one probably had the most positive reviews out of all the Game of the Year contenders that launched this year, I guess. And it was sort of like a new spin on co-op games, a spin that we hadn't seen in a few years in the industry. And as players, we have tons of memorable experiences. While the story does have some, cheesy moments about a couple going through divorce and they're sort of thrown in that little makeshift world by their daughter because she puts a spell on them and they have to sort of like get through their issues and work together as a team to get back to the real world. But it added a little charm to the game, and it's one of those games where it's playful, doesn't take itself too serious, and it's just got an impressive amount of gameplay variety. That's like the one thing
Op
that really
4
stood
last
out to
stop
me
standing.
was the amount of aspects they took from various
Op
games.
4
Like there was
neutralized.
so much
Mission
stuff
successful.
that you do in It Takes Two that just pulls from other games that it never feels like you're just stuck in one game. It constantly feels like you're jumping from game to game to game to game to game to game, and that's hard to do with any game, especially like if it's just pigeonholed into one genre type of thing. If it's like an action adventure game, you're either gonna lean heavy into like the gunplay or the story or that type of shit, but not. It Takes Two was all over the fucking place, and I really like that about them. It's just a pity that the studio is actually being sued by fucking Take Two Interactive over the naming rights. So we're gonna have to see at the Game Awards if there's any drama about that. If they're gonna have to drop the name It Takes Two, even though like no one looks at It Takes Two and thinks, oh,
Use your drone to locate a bomb.
they're benefiting off the IP of Take Two Interactive, but it is what it is. Take Two seems to just be DMCAing everything and anyone and everything in their way. Uh, and then yeah, like I say, so with It Takes Two, they took mechanics from fighting
Be
games,
advised your drone has
third-person
located a
shooters,
bomb.
platformers. All the locations were a bit different, and yeah, it made the game really feel special. And
10
if not for anything, they sort of would deserve Game of the Year for that.
5 seconds to
Just
go.
not to be like all cheesy and Disney about that bullshit, but yeah, if anyone was to win it,
Leave the
and
bomb's
if you're not going to
location
give
and
it to
defuse it.
a Ratchet and Clank or a Resident Evil type of game, then you should just give it to It Takes Two. And then yeah, speaking of that, the last big contender, Resident Evil Village. And again, Village refines the first-person gameplay and engine introduced by Biohazard, which was Resident Evil 7, offering more accessible navigation, combat, and Biohazard deliberately, excuse my English, provided us with claustrophobic tension, a tension-fueled experience where it was like really pushing us into the horror genre, where you had to be on your toes and had to be afraid all the time. Whereas Village kind of veers more into the horror, but it's now like towards
You have
horror
located a
action
bomb.
because Ethan is armed to the teeth when you're just fighting for survival. With Biohazard, when you're dealing with the Baker family and all sorts of like molds and everything, you had like one type of enemy, whereas Biohazard's enemy variety was
Op 4 last
limited.
stop
Again, it was
standing.
just the Baker family. They were just wild as shit, and you had to like survive and deal with them. But Village goes around with the different bosses. The Dimi, what's what they called again? The Dimitrescu sisters, that sort of thing. You just had to deal with all sorts of different bosses. Moreau, again, he was like super different. And what was the other guy in the factory? I forgot his name. Heisenberg. There we go. That dude in the factory. So it was really interesting, and it pulled like from elements from Resident Evil 4. So it was more just action paced, and it was kind of fitting for like a 25-year celebration for them, and it was a good entry from Capcom. And again, so the one thing I think working in Ratchet and Clank's favor is that it's basically the highlight so far of PlayStation 5, since all the other heavy hitters are coming in next year. That's when you'll get your entries from Guerrilla Studios, Sony Santa
Protect the
Monica.
bombs.
Everyone else is basically going to be dropping 2022. And Insomniac, Jesus Christ. Insomniac, I don't know how they keep just churning out fucking high-level AAA games after Miles Morales. Again, that one could have been a Game of the Year contender, but yeah, it's the usual. Spider-Man will be Spider-Man. We'll have to see what happens with the next Spider-Man and then Wolverine.
Located a bomb.
And again, if
Defuse it.
Insomniac managed to pull that off again, they are actually coming in with a shout of probably being Sony's best studio, I would say, behind like jumping ahead now of like Naughty Dog and Santa Monica Studios, purely because of the number of good entries they make. Because like Naughty Dog, again, they'll make a Last of Us, they'll make what they call it again, Crash, and all those sorts of games. But they'll bring in one entry and they'll sort of take their time and then do another entry like 4 or 5 years later. Whilst Insomniac seems to now just be churning games out at the pace of like an EA type studio, but they're churning out AAA quality and not just stupid yearly cash grab releases that we see like Activision, Blizzard, EA, all these other studios sort of lean towards. So Insomniac has that going for them. And then I think, yeah, what was I going to mention again? Yeah, the best part about Ratchet and Clank for me, the mechanics, is the Rift Tether, which allowed you to transport, from different areas and different worlds within the map, just basically warping between dimensions. and it added a new level of gameplay in the Ratchet and Clank series. You know, it wasn't like super new, but you know, it is what it is. So overall, again, I may have like rambled all over in this video, but basically, I just, you know, I wanted to make a shout and just speak about Ratchet and Clank, and overall the dazzling graphics. Jesus, where's my English? It was again the first truly next-gen gaming experience, and for that reason alone, I feel like, you know, it should just get Game of the Year and provide Sony another winner like God of War did in 2018. Even though there was 2018, there was much more steep competition. Even 2020 last year with Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima being the two runaways. I feel like Ratchet and Clank will again this year be that runaway for Sony. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I know I probably rambled a lot and went all over the place, but yeah, I hope to make more commentary videos and hopefully provide more in-depth discussions when I'm now doing streams if I can get all my audio and everything working perfectly. Like, comment, subscribe, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Down to 15 seconds. 10 seconds left. 5 seconds to go. Time limit expired. Protect the bombs.
Repelling hostiles are in for a surprise. Device deployed.
Be advised, a bomb location has been compromised. Down to 10 seconds.
Razor bloom going out.
5 seconds left. Op 4 has located a bomb. Be ready for hostile action.
Shields up.
Ash in sight.
Reloading.
One friendly operator remaining. Op 4 has located a bomb. Mission failed. All friendlies have been neutralized. Protect the bombs.
Found the razor blade. Device prime.
Bomb location compromised. Plan accordingly. Op 4 located a bomb. Protect it. 10 seconds to insertion. 5 seconds and counting. Op 4 has located a bomb. Be ready for hostile action.
Mounted. Let them come.
Reinforce the wall!
Setting up.
Impact.
Razor bloom, go now.
EDD mounted. Let them come. Device prime. Keep an eye on the door. New feed active. Shields up. Swapping mags. Camera activated.
New feed up.
Planting the toxin.
Op 4, last stop standing. You have been spotted. Friendly victorious. Hostiles eliminated.